It's just been exactly what you say it is. It has been up to this point. And I actually referred someone to you already who bought his first house and is crushing with that. Like, and so it's been the experience that you explain and show in your videos is very, very real.
Hey guys, Rhett here. What is going on? Do I have a special video for you? I know I say that all the time when I do these coaching, these client videos, but this one is going to be a little bit different because Brandon, who's been in the program now for a little over 12 months, has 8 rental properties and they are all in different stages. Some have been cash flowing, some are being turned over, some he's just purchased, some are under contract, some are in different states. We're going to dive into all of it. But first, Brandon, thank you for coming on. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you on here today.
Oh, I appreciate you having me on here. Excited to, help some people out. I know there's a ton of people either in the program right now or interested in the program. And happy to, I don't know, answer any questions, kind of walk through my experience, which up to this point has been awesome. And just kind of go through, how we've built this portfolio so far.
Yeah, and Brandon, so you and I have been working together for about 14 months. We've done one, two, three, four, five, about 6 properties together, 2 of them under contract. So really 4, soon to be 6. What have been some of the biggest takeaways that you have been able to grasp in buying properties remotely, buying properties sight unseen, and relying on a team out of state to do that?
Yeah, it's been a unique experience, needless to say. And yeah, we started actually went through and tried to grab some dates. We had our initial call in March 23rd, 2022. Signed agreement by the 25th. Like everything we talked about on our initial call was exactly what I needed to hear. Always been very interested in real estate. And this was just, we were looking for kind of that second income stream. What we originally talked about was kind of a hedge against my current job. And so, when we talked about and what happened with me on my current job was COVID just really, really hit us hard. And so we were looking for something that was a little bit more recession proof or more stable, I guess, more consistent, I would say. And when we talked, you talked. I remember you talking, and you're like, I know people who have, all this air stuff in Airbnbs in Nashville, and how their business was getting crushed during COVID, and then how the people who rented just to normal single family owners or had a multifamily, and they were getting crushed because of the eviction moratorium. And you talked about how your portfolio was just crushing and going to the moon because of how things are set up. And so that it would, again, they were not really answering your question, but just kind of want to talk about how we got in the program. Anyway, so we start 325. We were under contract by 411. And one thing we talked about a lot was just the importance of that first one, the how important it was to have a home run, because if you don't have a home run that first one, you're going to sell the property right away and you're going to head for the hills. And the unique thing about Ensley, the one we have, was I didn't have you didn't even give me a chance to overthink it. And I don't know if you remember this, but like it was one of those where it was under contract with a different client of yours. They had something like a family issue come up, so they had to drop out. And you called me. It's like, yeah, we're doing this. Like this is this is exactly what you're looking for. It's a home run. And I was just like, oh, okay. So we did it. We closed. I don't have the exact. We had the contract on 411. We had a tenant approved by 530. Like literally little over a month and a half later, and that included some light rehab on it. And from that day, it's been an absolute home run on that one. And so it was that initial just, hey, let's find something that really works and fits the criteria we were looking for. From there, and again, we'll dive into how it's gone from there. But I think the important thing from that was like the team that we have in place right away of, you were kind of helping me figure out what I need to get, where I should be looking, the criteria I should be looking at, and the kind of the initial first steps. Having a realtor that kind of knows the area and knows, how to deal with these type of offers. It had already been walked, but the contractor has also been a huge thing. And anytime I tell people I invest out of state, they're like, "Well, what are you doing for a contractor?" I was like, "Well, we got an awesome one lined up, and the work's done really quickly." I'm not an expert in this realm, but it's always done really well. So, from what I can see, so just having that team and those boots on the ground when you're investing in a place that almost most likely will not be. I don't know. I'd like to visit someday, maybe, but I've never been to Birmingham. Probably will never be in Birmingham. So that stuff's all been hugely beneficial. And then I think, most important for people who are thinking about doing this is just know there's going to be some growing pains. Like I think everyone just gets so much anxiety about this stuff, and I get it. I was there from a standpoint of, making sure it's been a month, it's been 2 months since I've closed. I don't have a renter, that's gonna happen, it's going to happen. Just stay the course. Understand that, like, there's going to be some bumps along the way. I call it, to me, it's kind of like paying some tuition. We can walk through some of the stuff that happened with my second property, where I learned a lot, but it's stuff that it cost me a little bit of money throughout that process. So I think just understanding that there'll be a few bumps, but as long as you got a good team in place, you have a good strategy in place, it's going to work out.
Well, Brandon, I don't even know what to ask you now because you just answered all of my questions in 4 minutes. I'm just kidding. But, you mentioned something really, really important. So many things, and I want to unpack so much of what you just said. But starting off, number one, the team. The fact you've never been to Birmingham one time and you've purchased 6 houses there in the last 14 months is mind-boggling. That's number one. Number two, the trust that you've put in me and the team has helped you get there. And because you've trusted us, you're able to build this portfolio. So you also need to take some of that credit because that's hard to do. Especially you and I have never met in person, right?
I gotta say, this actually, you don't know this. When we first started, and I've talked to a lot of different people, a lot of different like groups and like people, like coaches and teachers and all this stuff. And I stumbled across your website because, again, I was looking into initially Airbnbs. Airbnbs are fun. They're sexy. That everyone dreams of. I'm going to have the beach house or the house in the mountains, and I'm going to use it 10 days a year. But then the rest of the time, it's going to be printing me money. And at the time when we were talking, like Airbnb, and they still are, but they were so hot, like way overheated. I remember I was looking in the Smoky Mountains because that's the one where everyone wants to get to the Smoky Mountains. And I was looking at a house. It was $1.3 million. They had changed nothing in that house. And 3 years prior, it was like 300,000. It was literally up $1 million over 3 years, and nothing had changed on the property. And I remember I was in this like Facebook group, and I got this ebook, and I was like, kind of like, think about and I was just looking at this Facebook group, ton of people in it. And it was just like people were saying, "Oh, I just took like a HELOC out on my permanent residence. Where should I put my money in? Where should I put my money first?" And I was just like, there was just so much of that, and it was just so like it's uncomfortable with how like it just didn't. I was like, this doesn't feel sustainable at all. They're running numbers based off 2020 comps when people were, COVID was causing unique travel patterns, and like I just remember being like, this is gross. And anyway, so I started like looking for other options as far as like, we had some disposable capital. We wanted to buy some sort of rental property. And I remember, I think it was maybe Bigger Pockets or something. I remember at one point hearing something about Section 8 housing, and I YouTube, and you were one of the first ones, and I started watching your videos. And you're way too big time now, but this is when you were much smaller, and it was just like, man, this is really good info. No one seems to know about this guy. And so I reached out, you emailed me almost immediately right back. And we had a really good, again, the conversation we had initially, it was just like, all right, this is checking a lot of boxes. And the thing that was really unique about your program was it wasn't, hey, you buy my ebook, you get access to our Facebook group or whatever. And that was kind of it. It was like, no, you're going to get like some actual coaching from me. You're gonna spend time. We're going to have phone calls. We're going to check in. We're going to walk you through my process. And it wasn't just like, hey, this is a one size fits all. Every house or property was unique. And so like I really liked that part of it. Anyway, so but like anyone, I was skeptical, right? Like, who is this guy? This seems, if his numbers are accurate, he's giving this thing away for free. And like, it just didn't make sense. So naturally, like, you send me this property, or exit property, and I'm like, on the assessor page. He's trying to unload. I know he's just trying to unload this. This is his. He's trying to unload his property, and there's something wrong with it. Nothing there. And then we kind of got talking about like the realtor. It's like, all right, is there a relationship with the realtor? What's going? Is he like own the brokerage? Then we got to the point with like the contractor. It's like, oh, he's got to be like a part of the contractor. He's got to get in something. Like, I just kept kind of looking for like, it's too good to be true. Like, what's the rub? Why is he doing this? And I didn't find anything or like anything like, and it was all pretty genuine, which I think most people watching this are probably sitting on the sidelines like, it can't be real. Him and Brand probably know each other. They're probably college, but you know what? Something like whatever it might be. It can never be. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. But in this case, it just wasn't. Um, so yeah, it was a little bit frightening at first. Again, trusting someone I've never met. Only had a couple phone calls with, a couple interactions. But I guess to ease ease it a little bit, like to bring it back to the Airbnb thought. Getting an Airbnb and possibly mess it up was going to be $200,000-$300,000. It's again, I don't think it's a fun property, and if done well, they can make money. And I don't want to deny that, but like pretty big risk. This was such a low entry point or like price wise that even if I messed this up as bad as possible, it was still again everyone's financial financial situation is unique. It was such a low barrier of entry that like if it works, awesome. Like, and then let's ramp this thing up. If it doesn't, I'm not in financial ruin because I just spent $300,000 on a property in the Smoky Mountains. Like that was the appeal of it, and that's why I think it made it a little bit easier to trust and get to that point of all right, the first one work. And again, I think it's so important if the first one's a home run, it makes it much easier for my second one, which is cash flowing very well now, to be maybe not a home run out of the gate. Maybe we struck out at that first at bat, but like again, it's cash flowing now, and it that would have been my first one, and maybe we would have been rubbed the wrong way a little bit. Where now it's working well and been great on that standpoint.
Right, and you bring up so much, Brandon, and I would keep you on this interview for 4 hours if I could. But something you said there is extremely important. So when you do volume like you've done, and you buy 6 properties in such a short amount of time, you're going to run into everything. Mm-hmm. And one thing you mentioned that you and I do is we break down every single property, and every single property is different. It's absolutely, and you mentioned this, but it's the opposite of a cookie cutter approach, because every property is its own investment. Every single property has different issues. It has different problems. It has a different history. It has different neighbors. It has things that we can't always control. Mm-hmm. So the first property you did, it was an unbelievable purchase price. It was a very, very slim rehab. And right now it's cash flowing for $1,210 a month, Section 8 and gold mine, right? The second property, we ran into some electrical issues. We had to do the entire house. I mean, we had issues with the city, with the electrical. We had to pull permits 3 different times, and we had to do a runaround, right? Mm-hmm. And then you buy one cash flowing, and then we buy one that has barely any rehab, and then you buy 2 more that need big rehabs. When you run the gamut like that, and you do a little bit of everything, you run into issues, you learn a ton. What do you think some of the biggest learning things or biggest takeaways from a learning standpoint have been for you thus far?
Yeah. Number one, I'm not buying a Tarrant again anytime soon. think we had a joke, me and the realtor, of there you seem to be in charge of sales prevention there at the town hall. But no, it's and even we talked about how great of a home run this first one was. I had a tree fall down in the yard. It was $4,800 to remove that tree. Like that doesn't feel like a home run when you're writing that check or sending that invoice, right? And there, and to me, it's just it's part of the game. It's part of like you control your controls and like anything you do. That's a big thing I talk about my day job and like just just in life, right? Of was that in my control? No, there it was. A tree fell down. Like Mother Nature decided it was going to be real windy, whatever. And so that's I just think you got to like understand like there's part of this that just is out of your control. A freezer or I think I had a fridge go out in one of our houses, electrical issues that, and again, I think I was mostly frustrated on that one because there were I missed an email or I didn't I missed a text or something from you. Like part of it was like, hey, we got to get that done, and I didn't get it lined up, and so like that was in my control and I messed it up. But I think that's part of it is just understanding there's going to be issues that come up and understanding like even when things are a home run and doing well, there's going to be other stuff that comes up that maybe you didn't plan for, maybe that didn't show up on your spreadsheet necessarily. So that was one. Two, we talked about this right before we hopped on. You gotta, we've wrote, I think I think it's been over 50 offers at this point. And when you first get started, you're like, I sent you like a list of houses we're interested. And you're like, I assumed you're gonna be like, it was gonna be like, write an offer on this one, we'll have it locked in bubble. And you like, it was like, hey, here's like the 10 offers out, right? And I was just like, it's too many. What if they all say yes? It's just kind of a different ball game down here. Like, and a lot of them, and even like there's been interesting. I put this in the Discord the other day. It's just been interesting, like dealing with other agents. It's not necessarily the agent we use is very very good, but like the other agents don't respond to offers sometimes. They I've never in a million years, and I worked in real estate and we've bought properties. Never in a million years would I ever like expect to hear something like, "Oh, they accepted a better offer." Even they accepted a better. What is highest and best not a thing? Like it just, and so it's just that part. There's going to be some, I guess, and I call it tuition. There's going to be some tuition you're going to have to pay, as far as just learning the area, learning how people do business, learning that side of it is definitely been I don't know, a learning, something I've learned as well, I guess, to that or grammar there. But that's been a big part of it. And I guess just patience. And I know that's easy to say for some people, like maybe if you're over leveraged or maybe you're like, hey, I bought this. I want someone in there right now. I think patience is key. Like I'd rather eat a couple more extra, eat a month or two of my mortgage and get the right tenant in there as opposed to rush and just take the first one just because they have a voucher. I want, I prefer not to have tenant. I don't want to roll these over. I want to keep, you talk about like this idea of like having the same 10 people in our people in the house for 10 plus years. That's what we want. And that's what I want. So I think that's probably the big stuff is, and also just you're dealing with the government. Understand that like we're gonna move slow at times, like, and it's going to be unexpected. It's going to be frustrating, and so I guess just going in with the right mindset of timelines and understanding how things work.
Yeah, and Brandon, when you think about it, and you think about timelines, and you think about things that pop up, we are buying property, and I say it all the time, but there's no get rich quick scheme in this.
Mm-hmm.
This is long-term wealth. And when you go online and you go on social media and you see people, oh, I'm retiring in 12 months. I'm going to be retired in 2 years, and I have $10,000 to spend. It's not real.
No,
it's fake.
Right.
You look at it, right? You've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we have a long way to go.
Right.
Right. If you don't have that much money, that's okay. We'll get there, but it's going to take time. Mm-hmm. In order to build large portfolios, you need capital or time.
Right.
And to build really big portfolios, you need both.
Right.
But more of one is going to help you get there faster. So, or get there, period. right?
Mm.
So one of my biggest issues with the current environment, and I talk about this too, is this idea that, hey, you can buy 100 properties in a year and you're going to be set for the rest of your life. You have been doing this now consistently with your nose to the grindstone, and you have 8 properties,
Mhm.
right? That's a ton. I mean, that's insane. And think about how much time it's taken you, right?
Yep.
Now, while we're in it, you're like, oh my God, this is taking forever. But you blink and we've been doing this for only 14 months, and I am almost out of conventional loans to where once I hit my maximum of 10, we're going to have to bundle all this stuff up into a commercial loan or into a non-recourse loan or a DSCR loan. And we're going to have to, start buying again. So it really is incredible. You have moved about as fast as possible when it comes to adding single family units. And then you and I have these conversations all the time. You sent me today a good size apartment complex that you're looking at. And 12 months ago, 14 months ago, you had never even thought about Section 8. And now you're about to add, possibly a medium-sized apartment building, and you're going to have almost 20 Section 8 units. So what has that been like for you, where you don't even know about an asset class, and then 12 months later, you're going to have 99% of your real estate investment is going to be in that asset class?
You don't know me that well, but my friends that do, like, I have a very addictive personality, and like once you get like kind of bit by that bug, you're just like, oh, like it's easy to like pull up a spreadsheet and be like, all right, here's what I did if I did one time, but what if I do this 100 times? What if I do it 50 times? What if I do this 100 times? What does that look like? And so that part it's very real. Like you want to, I'm no different than anyone else in what their goals are. Financial freedom, right? I want to. I've got 3 young kids. I want to, I like my job. I really do. I like my day job. But the ability at some point, if I want to, not do that or just not. Again, I like I mentioned before, got very, very it got affected by COVID very, very like a ton, basically shut it down. And just having that control and that yeah, I guess that control of just like, hey, I can do, like, once you hit a certain point, I can keep going to work, I can not go to work, I can, you know, I don't want to say retire, but because that's just not how I'm wired, but like just kind of do whatever it is I want to do. That's a very powerful feeling. I think that's why the majority of people get into real estate rentals. But yeah, I get like very, very excited when you see something on paper, like, and you actually see a plan come to fruition. Was like, all right, well, I can do that again. I can do that multiple times. And then where the rubber really meets the road for me is like when we start talking about multifamily, we start talking about DSCR commercial, like I'm starting to have different conversations. Like I bought, the houses we have now. I bought these type of homes before of just like, oh, like that's a loan I can be a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. I know how those loans work. But not now, like when you start talking about commercial and DSCR, and like that's where the big boys are playing. Like you're swimming with the sharks now, and that's where, again, this is inaccurate, but like anytime you ever see like someone who has like a lot of money, like billionaires, but like it always feels like it's commercial real estate of some sort. And so for me, it's also like it's an exciting new thing to learn from a standpoint of like just continue to grow this knowledge. And again, real estate's always been a passion, but I guess I don't know if that answers your question necessarily, but what's like to buy something that an asset class, I don't know. I love new stuff. I love learning. I love building. And like, this has been a really fun thing to kind of learn about, finding YouTube videos, looking up. I sent you stuff on like Section 42 housing, like a couple of weeks ago. And I think that it's a really unique asset class. It's something that I can kind of like, I can't sit here and say like I do it because it makes me feel good at night because I'm providing value, but we are like, this is a necessary thing that people need, people need housing. But so we get paid very well for these. It's a good asset class. And so I don't know, it's a very unique asset class overall. It's something that I think it's underserved. I mean, I don't know if you can share that number, but the number of people holding vouchers in Birmingham was shocking when you said it. And the more I read about it, the more I think we're doing some good here and I'm getting paid accordingly.
Right, right. And Brandon, you have also been able to pretty much hammer down everything that you need to do for single family rental property. I mean, we're looking at larger multifamily right now and commercial, but that's only because you have kicked ass with single family rentals, and you have so many of them right now that we're not going to be able to get any more loans.
Right.
So a lot of people come to me and they say, Rhett, my first property, I watched this guy on Instagram. I do this. It's all about multifamily, baby. It's all about commercial. We got to start with 20 doors. It's not. And if you do, you're going to get overwhelmed. This is something that is so extremely important to me. If we work together and we do these things the right way, my goal is to get you to 50, 100, 200 doors. We're going to get there. But in order to get there, you have to have the issues, right? I'm going to keep you away from the expensive ones, but you have to have the stress of my unit's vacant. You have to have the, oh my goodness, what is this moment of, I didn't know this was part of it, or I didn't know that this was part of this process in growing and scaling. Because if you don't experience those growing pains and you don't go through the adding constantly of more units, and you don't go through turnover, and you don't go through this and that and this, you're not going to be ready to add a 20 unit apartment complex. But you are, because you've done it, and you've done so many of these things, right? You've had the tree fall down in your yard, the thing we cannot control, and you've dealt with that. It's a lot easier to go through those problems on a micro level when you have one house to deal with, or two houses to deal with, or three houses that you're responsible for. And then as we start adding, you now experience new things to where now I'm comfortable looking at large projects with you, because I know, hey, if we have 5 units that are occupied when we take this thing over as a value add, and we need to fill the remaining 5 units, and you're going to have 5 vacancies at a time, I know you can handle that. I know you're not going to be calling the management company every single day. What's happening? What's going on? Are we okay? It's all good. It's part of it. And you've done a great job with that. Now, Brandon, we're running out of time here. You have been unbelievable, and I appreciate you coming on so much and talking about your story. I'm going to leave you with this. If you had to talk to people right now who are watching this video, who are seeing your incredible success over such a really short amount of time, what would you tell them if they're struggling to get started and they're thinking about joining the program, but they're not sure, and they have the qualms that you did? If you could talk to them right now, what would you tell
them? It just, whatever you think it, like, again, like being like assuming like you're this bad guy that is out to, like, again, unload his portfolio, or there's no reason he'd be giving this away. There's got to be there. At least in my experience, there hasn't been any catch 22 to this at all. It's just been exactly what you say it is. It has been up to this point. And I actually referred someone to you already who bought his first house and is crushing with that. Like, and so it's been the experience that you explain and show in your videos is very, very real. Are there certain things that can trip that experience up along the way? Absolutely. Like, again, a tree falling down, electric problems, the city of Tarrant switching up how they do things. Like, these are all things, again, control your controllables. These are not controllables. But everything as far as like what you say your program is very real. And if you go in with that mindset and understand that there's going to be some challenges out of your control here and there, you're going to do fine, and you're going to have a lot of success here. And I think your Discord's blown up tremendously over the last, I don't know, call it month or so. And you can kind of see some of the other people's stories in there where I got my first house, and it's rented, and you can see it's starting to build and kind of bubble. And I think it's because, again, the value you add. I can't say I've looked at every coaching program or anything like this, but a lot of them, you don't get the one-on-one time and experience and just face-to-face that you'd get with your program. You give an opportunity for people to really ask the questions, learn, and we talked about this early on from a standpoint of you know what, we got the first couple of houses and I was like, this is great, but I don't feel like I learned anything. And then you challenged me. You're like, all right, from now on, when you send me houses, you send what you think you should offer. You send what you think needs to be done. And we would compare notes a little bit after the fact. And it just like stuff like that. It's just, you can kind of get out of this program what you want. If your goal is literally, I'm going to send Rhett houses, he's going to tell me what to offer. I'm going to send the real estate agent the offers, and then punt it over to, and that's it. And that's all you want to do. Great. If you want to grow a little bit more and learn exactly kind of the nuts and bolts of this business, you can do that as well. It's whatever your goals are. I found it your program to be very accommodating to that. And I think that's just unique, I guess, in this like world of like, again, kind of real estate coaching. It's a lot of, and again, some of these people in these different groups, it's like, oh, you made all your money in 2008 and everything you've done is not repeatable. Like
Right.
this is not a this has not been the case for me. At least in my experience, it's been, again, everything you said it was going to be. It's been good experience. And now to me, the exciting part is the stuff that like I don't know. Like I knew how to get a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, like, you know, a traditional loan. I don't know anything about DSCR loans or commercial loans or blanket loans. A lot of stuff I've been doing research on. I don't know how to buy a multifamily. And that's where it's going to become really exciting as we continue to grow to whatever the end point is, or whether it's financial freedom or whatever the buzzword is there. But that's where it gets really exciting to me. So for anyone who's thinking about it, I'm happy to, you know, answer questions or anything like that. But just know it's what you say it is. Like those videos of the houses you're showing, I don't think you've done it on mine, but like pretty real. It's looks like a lot of my houses that have been flipped. The numbers all sound about the same.
Your houses your houses get occupied too fast.
Well, yeah, ideally.
You have tenants in there too quick.
And so yeah, everything has been, again, what you see is what you get. And I think where people get nervous is like, well, that doesn't, why would he be giving this away? I don't know. Honestly, I still don't, but it's you see it's worked well for us.
Well, Brendan, I appreciate it. Guys, please leave your questions and comments for Brandon in the comment section of this video. I'm sure he would love to get in there and answer whatever questions you have. If you have more in-depth questions, hop in the Discord. The link is also in the description, and he's in there extremely active in that Discord group. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on, guys.